Learning a foreign language can be one of the most rewarding adventures you ever take. But before you set out on your adventure, it's important to set some realistic expectations. Contrary to what the marketing messages may say, you won't learn French in 1 week or get fluent in Japanese in just 5 minutes a day. According to the US Foreign Service Institute, or FSI for short, it takes roughly 600 to 2,200 hours of study to reach a functional level of fluency in a language, with our estimates depending on the specific target language. More on this in a moment. The good news is that these hours needn't be consecutive, nor do they need to take place in a classroom. With a little creativity and discipline, you can squeeze in an hour or two of language learning each and every day, even with a demanding work or family schedule. And you don't have to give up your other hobbies or sacrifice your work, health, or family to get fluent. The key is intentional scheduling, habit stacking, and leveraging hidden moments between your other personal and professional commitments. In this video, I share 7 ways to integrate more immersion and language study time into your daily life and how to build a personalized immersion schedule that fits your unique life and lifestyle. Before we begin, take a moment to grab a pen and a piece of paper or a notebook because you're going to need to write some things down. Or better yet, download my free immersion time worksheet, which walks you through all 7 steps. You can find a link in the description below. Step 1, confirm the FSI classification for your target language. The FSI groups languages into 4 categories based on their difficulty for native English speakers and how many hours it takes to reach what they call professional working proficiency in both the spoken and written language. The classification system is not without controversy or limitations, but it can provide at least a rough estimate for how many hours you need to commit to reach a functional level of fluency in your target language. As I go through the following 4 language categories, keep an eye out for your target language, and then make sure to write down the hours of study number that I mentioned. First up, we have Category 1 languages. These tend to be easiest of the 4 for native English speakers, given their relative similarity to English and the use of Latin alphabets, so you don't have to learn a new writing system. The FSI estimates it takes between about 600 and 750 hours to reach professional working proficiency in a Category 1 language. Examples of Category 1 languages include Danish, Dutch, French, Italian, Norwegian, Portuguese, Romanian, Spanish, and Swedish. Next, we have Category 2 languages, which tend to be a bit more difficult for English speakers due to more complex grammar rules and lots of new sounds. The FSI estimates that it takes an average of 900 hours to reach professional working fluency in a Category 2 language. Category 2 languages include German, Haitian Creole, Indonesian, Malay, and Swahili. Category 3 languages entail more difficulty for English speakers due to tones, non-Latin alphabets, and more complex grammar rules. On average, they require about 1,100 hours of study to reach professional working proficiency. Category 3 languages include Albanian, Amharic, Armenian, Azerbaijani, Bengali, Bulgarian, Burmese, Czech, Dari, Estonian, Farsi, Finnish, Georgian, Greek, Hebrew, Hindi, Hungarian, Icelandic, Kazakh, Khmer, Kurdish, Kyrgyz, Lao, Latvian, Lithuanian, Macedonian, Mongolian, Nepali, Polish, Russian, Serbo-Croatian, Sinhala, Slovak, Slovenian, Somali, Tagalog, Tajiki, Tamil, Telugu, Thai, Tibetan, Turkish, Turkmen, Ukrainian, Urdu, Uzbek, and Vietnamese. Lastly, we have Category 4 languages, which entail the most difficulty for English speakers due to complex writing systems, grammar, honorifics, etc. The FSI estimates it takes about 2,200 hours of study to reach professional working proficiency in a Category 4 language. Examples of Category 4 languages include Arabic, Chinese, including both Cantonese and Mandarin, Japanese, and Korean. Now, keep in mind that these time and difficulty estimates can vary significantly depending on a learner's motivation, their experience learning languages, their environment, and their study methods. But I think they are directionally correct. And in my experience, they act as a useful, albeit rough, reference point. You can find a table with all these categories, languages, and time estimates in the Immersion Time worksheet, which again, you can find the link in the description below. If you have yet to choose a foreign language to learn, or if this is your first time learning a foreign language, I recommend starting with the Category 1 language to build up some confidence and experience knowing how to learn a language. Step 2, set clear learning goals. Now that you roughly know how many total hours it'll take to reach functional fluency, do a little math to figure out your daily hour goal. First, choose a specific date on the calendar that you want to reach your learning goals by. This is really important. Such specificity and urgency are both really helpful in creating effective goals. Next, use the days calculator tool available at timeanddate.com/date/duration.html to automatically calculate how many days there are between now and your target goal date. To use the tool, put today's date in the start date field, your goal in the end date field, and then click calculate duration. Finally, divide the FSI hours of study number that you wrote down earlier by the number of days you just calculated. For example, 900 hours for a category 2 language divided by 365 days equals about 2.5 hours per day. So if you want to get functionally fluent in German, for example, a year from today, then you need to commit about 2.5 hours of study each and every day between now and then. If this total is significantly more than 2 hours, though, I recommend pushing back your goal date to bring the average to 2 hours per day or less. Once you've confirmed this daily hour goal, write it down on your piece of paper or in the daily hour goal box on page 3 of the Immersion Time worksheet. And while you're at it, take a moment to define your skill objectives too. What do you want to be able to do in the language? Do you plan to travel, live, or work abroad, connect with relatives? You can then let this why guide your how. We'll talk more about methods a bit later. Do you want to focus on just listening and speaking skills? This can shave quite a bit of time off of your learning journey, but it can also inhibit your travel experiences, and it cuts you off from useful written immersion tools. Or do you want to learn to read and write too? This is easy peasy in Romance languages, but entails significantly more time in languages like Chinese and Japanese that have complex non-Latinate scripts. Write these goals down on your piece of paper or in the blanks provided on page 3 of the Immersion Time worksheet. Step 3, complete a schedule audit. You now have a clear idea of how many hours to throw at language immersion and study each day to reach your fluency goal by a specific date. But you might be thinking to yourself, there is no way I can fit these hours into my already bloated schedule. I barely have enough time to breathe as it is. I have no doubt that you are indeed busy, and the last thing I want to do is add even more onto an already overloaded plate. But if you follow the study and immersion tips that I share later, much of the time you throw at language learning won't entail adding extra time to your schedule, but rather repurposing existing activities you already do each day. First, let's take a moment to identify some low-hanging fruit in your schedule that can be easily repurposed for language study and immersion. In general, you should aim to make more efficient use of time when your mind is not otherwise needed for work, deep thinking, or communication with others. For most people, this means commutes, errands, chores, and exercise. Tally up average daily totals for the following activities. On average, how much time do you spend commuting or running errands each day? On average, how much time do you spend doing household chores or yard work each day? On average, how much time do you spend walking or exercising each day? If you only do some of these activities once or twice a week, just calculate a rough weekly average and then divide by 7 to get your daily average. Then add up these numbers to get a daily total of potential language immersion time and write this number down on your piece of paper or in the potential immersion time box on page 4 of the Immersion Time worksheet. This total represents an extremely valuable time resource that you can leverage for language learning. In the following steps, I will show you how to get the most out of this time, as well as tips to unlock even more time throughout your day. Step 4, learn on the go. One of the best ways to integrate more language immersion and study into your life is learning on the go. With the advent of smartphones, podcasting, streaming video, blogs, ebooks, Wikipedia, and so on, you now have a near infinite supply of language learning resources right in your pocket, all of which can be consumed anywhere, anytime. Here are some quick tips for effective mobile language learning. In cases when you need to focus your eyes and hands on other activities, such as when driving or doing chores, use audio-only resources like podcasts, audiobooks, and audio courses like Pimsleur or Michelle Thomas. When you have your hands and eyes free, mix in some reading activities using the Kindle app, link, Wikipedia articles in your target language, and so on, as well as flashcard study using the Anki Space Repetition app. Download content to your device so you always have something on hand and don't have to worry about connectivity or using up your data. Step 5, leverage habit stacking. Habit stacking is a powerful technique that pairs a new habit with an existing one. By anchoring the new habit to something you already do, you can leverage an entrenched contextual cue that automatically triggers the desired behavior. Since this approach leverages automaticity, simplicity, it significantly reduces the time, effort, and decision fatigue that's normally involved in the creation of new habits. For example, let's say you're already in the habit of brewing coffee first thing every morning. You can simply stack a new habit on top of this coffee making habit. For example, studying your Anki flashcards. Instead of just zoning out or scrolling social media as you wait for the water to percolate through the grounds to create your much needed brain juice, you can instead spend that time reviewing any flashcards in Anki that are due that day. So take a moment to think about your typical daily routine and identify a few habits or activities that you'd never miss and don't even have to think about doing. You just do them automatically. Then think about which desired language learning habits you want to attach to each of these existing activities. The formula is really simple. When I do current habit, I will do new habit. Now write down these conditional statements on your piece of paper or on page 5 of the immersion time worksheet. Step 6, leverage hidden moments. As the late polyglot Barry Farber put it in his book, How to Learn Any Language, harnessing your hidden moments, those otherwise meaningless scraps of time you'd never normally think of putting to practical use, and using them for language study, even if it's no more than 15, 10, or 5 seconds at a time, can turn you into a triumphant tortoise. So in addition to the larger swaths of time that you've already earmarked for language immersion and study, you can also leverage lots of little chunks of time throughout your day to squeeze in tiny bursts of study or immersion. For example, you can learn while waiting in line, waiting for the elevator, waiting for a call to connect, waiting on hold, waiting for your food at a restaurant, or waiting for meetings to start at work. So for example, let's say you're out to lunch and you're waiting for your meal to arrive. You could use that time to read an article in your target language on your phone. Then, while waiting for the elevator back to your office, you could use that time to look up a few new words that were in that article during lunch in a dictionary app on your phone. Then, while waiting on hold with customer service later in the day, you can use that time to quickly create a few new Anki flashcards for those words that you looked up earlier. These are but a few examples. With a little creativity and discipline, there are dozens and dozens of opportunities throughout your day where you can leverage such hidden moments. And these brief bursts may not feel like much at the time, but they can add up to quite a few hours toward your language learning targets when you add them up over weeks and months. And step 7, repurpose your entertainment time. I saved the best for last. One of my absolute favorite ways to mix more language immersion into my life is watching foreign films and TV series. Not only is video one of the most context and culture-rich forms of immersion, but it also models authentic language usage in a way usually lacking in other forms of language input. And it's already something most of us do every day anyway. According to Statista, the average American adult spends more than 3 hours per day consuming streaming video. If you think about it, this is really just another example of habit stacking. We take something we're already doing and we just stack another habit on top of it. You can choose from a large number of video streaming services these days, but I recommend starting with 2, Netflix and YouTube. Not only do these 2 services have a really wide range of foreign language content, but both can be used with Language Reactor, a really cool Chrome extension that adds interactive, supercharged subtitles in your browser. Now, in addition to streaming video, I should also point out that social media can be easily leveraged for language immersion if used correctly. Here are a few suggestions on how to learn as you scroll. 1, create new dedicated accounts for each target language, so you can better train the algorithms to only show you content in your target language. 2, only follow accounts that publish content in your target languages. And 3, change the interface language in your social media app so you get a little bit of extra reading practice. So there you have it. As you can see, even the busiest person can integrate a bit more language learning into their life with intelligent scheduling, mobile learning, and repurposing existing habits. Using the tips and strategies in this video, you can make language immersion a seamless, automatic, and dare I say, enjoyable part of your life. Make it your primary goal to get at least 1 hour of language exposure and practice each day. 2 is even better, but 1 should be your minimum. That said, cut yourself some slack on especially hectic days. Having a few 5-minute days here and there won't completely derail your progress. Just make sure that these meager days are the exception, not the rule. Again, learn Japanese in 5 minutes a day is a marketing lie, not a pedagogical promise. And most importantly, remember that language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. What truly matters is that you generally stick to your habits over the months and years that it takes to reach your fluency goals. Happy learning!